Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Marquette Golden Eagles Dynasty here on NCAA Football 14. Last episode, we pulled off an insurmountable comeback. We were down 21 points early in the game. We came back to win against Navy in the Orange Bowl, as Marquette will finish this year at number 4 in the nation, 10-3, and we're now up to a 5-star caliber program. Looking at the polls, though, Wisconsin does defeat Georgia Tech there in the national championship, which is funny because going back to week 5, we defeated Wisconsin by 10 points. So Marquette can say that we defeated the national champion from this past season in the War for Wisconsin. So next year, the War for Wisconsin 3 is going to be the rubber match, and we're going to be taking on the defending champion Badgers. Penn State at number 2, Georgia Tech at number 3 after falling in the Natty. Marquette number 4 above Ohio State, Boise State, Alabama at 9-4, and then we see a Navy team 11-3 who we just defeated in the Orange Bowl. North Carolina, Stanford round out the top 10. LSU falls after a loss, I think, to Boise State in the Sugar Bowl. Miami at 12, we lost to them earlier in the year. BYU, Oklahoma, we also lost to the Sooners. TCU, Hawaii, another really good season from Hawaii last year, I think 12-1, this year 10-3. Army, the defending champions, well, not anymore, but last year the national champions, they ended at 17. Mississippi State, Louisiana Tech, they finished in the top 25. Oregon State, a very good season there. Temple, we haven't seen them in the top 25, I don't think. Oklahoma State, Arizona State, Florida Atlantic at 11-3, and then Florida rounding us out. And now we'll do a quick run through the bowl scores here and see who came out on top. We'll just go through the notable ones, kind of go through here really quickly. So USF posted 59 there in the Beef O'Bradley's Bowl against UAB. Who else we got? Temple, they finished 21. They win their bowl game as you would expect. Army wins the Military Bowl. West Virginia just barely beats USC by 2 points. 35-33 there in the Holiday Bowl. Oregon, we defeated them. They win the Belk Bowl against Syracuse. The Russell Athletic Bowl, 55 points the Tar Heels posted on Houston. Michigan, a 7-6 season from the Wolverines, not good, as they fall in the Meineke Car Care Bowl to a ranked Oklahoma State team. Louisiana Tech dominates Air Force in the Armed Forces Bowl. They finish a top 20 team. The Kraft Fight Hunger Bowl, where we spent the last 2 seasons, it's BYU defeating Arizona this year, as we actually defeated the Wildcats going back to week 1. In the Alamo Bowl, Texas only 6-6 on the year, as they fall to Oregon State by 20. Illinois beats Baylor by 10 in the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl. Tennessee takes the Music City Bowl against Clemson, who we beat in the last week of the regular season. FAU defeats South Carolina, who last year was in the national championship, but only 7-6 this year. Miami wins the Chick-fil-A Bowl. Georgia falls to Ohio State there in the Capital One Bowl, as the Buckeyes were number 2 in the nation heading into conference championship week, and then fell to Wisconsin. Not even making the Rose Bowl, the Buckeyes had to settle for the Capital One Bowl. Florida defeats Michigan State in the Outback Bowl. Penn State going to finish number 2 this year after they dominate Stanford in the Rose Bowl, and Stanford coached by former D coordinator Herbert Wright, as he led them to an undefeated record in the Pac-12, 11-3 overall. The Fiesta Bowl goes to Alabama as they take down Oklahoma. LSU falls by 6 against Boise State in the Sugar Bowl. And here we see the Discovered Orange Bowl as Marquette defeats Navy 29-28 with a 15-point fourth quarter. Pretty even across the board, honestly. We even ran the ball more than they did, surprisingly. But I think we did call more offensive plays. They had more passing yards than we do. A lot of that on like 1 or 2 good hits they had through the air. No turnovers for either side. And just a fairly balanced game, although we doubled their time of possession, which I did not expect, but kind of got to beat them at their own game. TCU took down Auburn in the Cotton Bowl. And we already kind of spoiled the BCS National Championship, but Wisconsin national champs this year as they take down Georgia Tech 7-7 after 1. Wisconsin would end up scoring 17 straight points, and then 28 seconds left, Georgia Tech got a touchdown as Wisconsin led 17-14, but then 2 touchdowns in the fourth quarter, both by Daryl Mosley, the top running back in the Big Ten. Wisconsin ends up winning 31-21. We'll look at some stats here for the Badgers. Ray Kearney, nothing over the top at quarterback, but very solid, 11 out of 19. No turnovers, did what he had to do. And Mosley, over 100 with 2 touchdowns, probably the player of the game in this one. Only 2 players recorded catches on this Wisconsin team. Jay Hines had 10 out of the 11 for 129. Talk about just, targeting one player. That's absurd. Never seen that type of market share in this game, I don't think. I don't think any interceptions, only 1 sack for Wisconsin. I want to go over to Georgia Tech, though. They have the Heisman Trophy winner at running back. Kevin Lumpkin here, only 1 carry. So he must have got hurt or something, because he was the best player on their team. Like I said, the Heisman Trophy winner. So weird to see him only 1 carry. Must have got hurt, as I said. So that's it for bowl results for the top 25. We'll go over to award winners now. I don't think we've checked this out at all yet. Kevin Lumpkin there, you see him, the Heisman Trophy winner. Also won the Maxwell, the Walter Camp, the Walker. 2,500 rushing yards this year with 34 rushing touchdowns. Going to end his career with 70 and 5,800 rushing yards all time. Like we said, Walton won the Walter Camp. And then look at the Bednarik here. Goes to Marquette linebacker Bobby Price. Also won Best Linebacker Award. 85 tackles total, 12 for loss. A pick 6 and 1 sack on the season. Nagurski goes to Chris Williamson, left outside linebacker out of South Carolina, redshirt sophomore. Had 10 sacks, 25 for loss, 89 tackles overall with an interception. The O'Brien goes to Mike Jackson, 99 overall quarterback, who finished second in the Heisman voting behind Kevin Lumpkin from Georgia Tech, who we just mentioned. 45 touchdowns to 6 interceptions, completing 70%, which is really, really good for an AI quarterback, really for any quarterback, with over 4,000 yards passing, 4 more touchdowns on the ground. Looks to be maybe the top pick in this year's NFL draft. The Walker goes to Kevin Lumpkin. The Biletnikoff goes to Mike Jackson's teammate. So you got the quarterback winning the O'Brien there from LSU, and also have the receiver from LSU winning it. Ray Turner, 1672 with 20 touchdown catches along with 86 and 17.1 yards per catch. Absurd production there. Tony Moore, the Mackey Award winner, and this dude has been absurd. Going back to his freshman year, I remember looking at his stats. 84 catches for 1168 as a freshman with 14 touchdowns. The production a little down as a sophomore, but then now his junior season eclipses, his production really. More catches, more yards with 13 touchdowns. 31 touchdown catches on his career, and we'll see if he returns for his senior year. The Outland goes to Kyle Jackson, center from Penn State, 96 overall, along with the Remington. The Lombardi goes to Curtis Morris, a redshirt sophomore out of UNC, 9.5 sacks with 24 for loss, 3 pass deflections, 3 forced fumbles. Best linebacker goes to Bobby Price. He doubles up on the hardware. John Shaw wins the Thorpe Award. Look at his stats, 1.5 sacks, 7 interceptions though, with 12 pass deflections, 5 tackles for loss. The Groza to Bubba Logan at A&M, and the Ray Guy Award goes to Ryan Dotson, punter from Stanford. Best returner to Ronnie Schuler of North Carolina. Now we'll just breeze through All-Americans. We see Mike Jackson, Kevin Lumpkin, 2 of the best players in the nation, along with Daryl Mosley, who we saw mentioned there in the Natty out of Morristown, New Jersey. Ray Turner, the Biletnikoff Award winner, with Anthony Culp, a very good year there for South Carolina. Over 1,200 yards each of the past 2 seasons with 30 touchdowns in that span. Tony Moore, the Mackey Award winner at tight end. Penn State 2 linemen here, Kyle Jackson and Kevin Williams, and LSU 2 linemen with Alan Walton, Craig Veeney, and then Ryan Young, another first-team All-American for him. Justin Freeman, DN for Wisconsin. Charlie Coleman out of Utah State. The senior had 22 tackles for a loss, 10.5 sacks. Aaron Richardson out of Georgia Tech. Lorenzo Rivero. So 2 linemen here for Wisconsin on the first-team All-American team. Linebackers, we have Chris Carter and Bobby Price. And then Ben Mackey there out of LSU joins them. Corners, Deshaun Morgan out of Western Michigan. He had 9 interceptions, 1 for a pick 6, 12 pass deflections. Joined by Jesse Fritz, so 2 Georgia Tech defenders make it. At safety, we have Darren Reed and Alex Mosley, 2 guys out of the Pac-12. And then Alan Davis, Ryan Dotson, and Brian Snyder, their special teams unit. Now second-team All-Americans, Dustin Garcia, quarterback for FAU, led the nation in passing with 4,228 with 38 touchdowns. Mika Bozeman, I think, finished top 5 in the Heisman race. Second-team All-American running back, along with Chase Baldwin, who we just saw in the bowl game. Ken Wheatley, Max Williams, a couple receivers. Darius Russell, very good. He actually won the Mackey going back to 2016. Now a second-team All-American at tight end, over 1,200 yards with 13 touchdowns. And 2 Navy offensive linemen here. Travis Bailey at left tackle, Mark White. LSU gets P.J. Davis at left guard. Georgia Tech, William Johnson. And then look at right tackle, Justin Hill, who started all 52 games of his career. Came in at a 78 overall, a 3-star gem prospect who is set to graduate. We're going to miss him at right tackle. Finishes as a second-team All-American. Marcus Hackett, a true freshman for Ohio State, 11.5 sacks, 25 tackles for a loss as a true freshman. Absurd production there. Eric Britt from USC. Robert Saria, another Georgia Tech guy here. Brad Jones at D tackle. Miami gets a linebacker. Sam Mason, middle linebacker from Stanford. Southern Miss gets an All-American here on the second team. John Shaw was the Thorpe Award winner. Only a second-team All-American, though. Anthony Johnson, another Wisconsin defender we see. At safety, Tim Lowe and Patrick Alston. Kicker, Kevin Conley, Daniel Triplett, and then Kevin Clark. So 2 LSU special teamers here on the second team. We'll go over to the freshman team, see if we played against any of these guys. Derek Rivers for Purdue we played against earlier in the year. 12 touchdown catches, just under 1,000 yards, and just under 15 yards per catch. Going to be a special player with the Boilermakers. And Perry Mitchell, we allowed a catch to him in the Orange Bowl. Ohio State gets a guy up here. Penn State, Georgia Tech, LSU, and Georgia. So all the teams you would expect. LSU here, an 84 overall redshirt freshman, in Georgia, an 85 overall redshirt freshman there on the O-line. Marcus Hackett, who we already saw. Aaron Williams, there you go. New Mexico, Aaron Williams, 9 sacks, 26 for a loss as a true freshman. Absurd production there for the Lobos. Another Ohio State D lineman, Ashton Davis, 7 tackles for loss, 1.5 sacks, an 80 overall true freshman. Deion Howard, another 80 overall D tackle, true freshman. The Nevada corner here, Oklahoma corner, Brad Young, 2 interceptions for him. Another LSU guy, whether it's the freshman team, first team, second team, LSU, a bunch of guys, as you probably would expect. And look at that, Hunter Kraft, our kicker, 14 out of 16 along with 46 and 100% extra points. A.J. Bullock from Penn State, and Paul Miller, the returner on the freshman team. Now, lastly, before we jump into the offseason, we'll go through our player stats here. And Jason Smith and Greg Walker, ended up pretty even across the board. 11 more attempts for Smith. He outpassed Walker by just under 30 yards with 10 touchdowns to 1 interception. But Walker had 5 and 5. So that touchdown to interception ratio much better by the redshirt freshman. And that's kind of a surprise. You go down here, Martin Diggs threw 1 pass all year. His first career pass attempt went for a pick 6, but we're not going to talk about that. So Greg Walker going to end his career with 7,789 passing yards, 48 touchdown passes to 34 interceptions, 68% completion percentage, and just, he came on as a starter there in year 3, never looked back up until battling injuries this year, but we're always going to remember as Greg Walker being the guy who kind of busted us, through the door here on the national scene. Average, per completion, long, very similar, along with sacks. Now going over to rushing, Alexander, 2 yards short of 800, and he'll leave Marquette as our all-time leading rusher, over 500 rushing attempts with 2,225 yards, 20 touchdowns for his career, receiving 1 touchdown, only 16 catches. McBride missed more than half the season, was on pace for a very good year, but going to finish with 392. Tied there with Alexander for 6 touchdown rushes, although, in less than half the carries. So McBride, he's going to probably be the feature back next year, maybe our first 1,000-yard runner. Jason Smith only played in half the games, but still 371 rushing yards. You double that, he's at 750 with 4 scores. Walker, 100. Jared Luke, the true freshman, 100. We got him involved as much as we could. Hopefully he stays. Craig Jones only 2.4 yards per catch, but last year 4.8, going back to his redshirt freshman year, 5.7. So his production dipping each season. Hopefully he comes back stronger as a senior. Josh Terry, we're going to miss him. Gave him some fullback dives this year, along with 8 with 3 touchdowns. Michael James, 72 yards, 2 touchdowns. Sam Manning, only 7 carries. Now receiving, Josh Terry again led our team in receiving with 542, working out of the slot, 3 touchdowns. And like I said, definitely going to miss him. Maybe our future head coach for our College Football 25 Dynasty. Not going to reveal that quite yet, but he's certainly a candidate. Kevin Coleman, the senior, the only player along with Terry that we'll lose out of our receiving core. He'll end his career with just over 1,000 yards, 5 touchdowns, 94 catches. Terry, the JUCO transfer, going to end with 89 catches, 1156, and 7 touchdowns. Jack Mason going to be back as our starting tight end, led with 4 touchdown catches. Kenneth Pope missed more than half the year, or maybe not more than half the year, but I think our last 3 or 4 games, probably going to be our wide receiver 1 next season. 3 touchdown catches, all came in the same game. Tommy Washington going to be our wide receiver 2 next year. No touchdowns, but contributed well in his role. Dylan Anderson going to have a bigger role next year, averaged 13.9 per catch. Craig Watkins missed more than half this season, only 9 catches, but 2 for touchdowns. Quincy Bonner, the true sophomore, 10.5 per catch. Going over to blocking, Marquise Cole, 19 pancakes, and I knew he'd be a good run blocker, but I did not expect that type of production. Only 2 sacks allowed. Justin Hill at right tackle, 8 pancakes, 4 sacks allowed. Roger Cook, our true freshman, at left tackle, no sacks allowed, 6 pancakes. Jack Mason, 5-0. Bobby Marcus at center. I think he's going to be our highest rated player on the roster next year. Probably going to go up to like a 94, 95 after training. Allowed 3 sacks along there with Richard Walker at right guard. Defensively, Bobby Price led in tackles with 85, a Bednarik and Best Linebacker Award recipient. Chris Carter, 73 tackles, a very good year from our true junior. Going to be maybe our leader on defense next year as a senior at middle linebacker. Omar Wilson, 52 tackles, did not expect that type of production from our free safety. Robert Williamson, 48. Mark Henry, 44. Tackles for loss, 13 for Antonio Carr, another senior that's going to leave us. 10 sacks last year, only down to 4 this year, but did have 13 TFLs. Going to end his career with 58 total, and our all-time leader in sacks with 25. 7 forced fumbles as well. 12 tackles for loss for Bobby Price and Jake Witherspoon. 11 for Mark Henry and Chris Carter. 8 for Robert Williamson and Jed Brigham, who was very flashy at times this year. Jonathan Leak with 6. Did not expect that. Going to be a starting linebacker for us next year. 4 from Clark and Troy Walker. 3 from Anthony Edwards and Weber. Weber really came on strong towards the end of the year. Another guy who's going to have a starting role in the linebacking core next year. Jake Witherspoon led in sacks with 7. Carr with 4. Brigham and Troy Walker there. 2 first-year starters on the D-line, although we did rotate a lot of guys. They each had 3. And then 2 from Anthony Edwards. Aaron Clark, another senior who's going to leave us. 3 interceptions on his career with 2 sacks. Both of those came in the same game, and he'll end with 11 pass deflections as well. And 1 sack for Price, Carter, Carroll Perkins, and Mark Henry. Interceptions, only 5 on the year. So what we threw, I think, 7 total. We only threw 7, which is very good. And we only picked off 5. No one with multiple interceptions on this team. Pass deflection, 7 from Clark, 6 from Omar Wilson. So many dropped interceptions between those 2 guys. 3 from Perkins. He had a couple dropped interceptions as well. And then 2 from Williamson, Henry, Carroll, Carter. Forced fumbles, 5 on the year. Brigham, Carroll, Carr, Clark, and Carter. Carroll, Carr, Clark, Carter. What an alliteration that is. I think all these guys are going to be back besides Clark and Carr, who we already talked about. And I think we had 1 touchdown. That was a Bobby Price pick 6. And that was actually a user interception as well. So with that, folks, we can officially put a bow on the year 6 season. We're now here in the offseason, the best part of the game, as I'll always, stress that. Love going through the offseason here. We'll jump right into the coaching carousel. And Bill O'Brien's contract has expired. I would expect they extend him as they do after an 11-2 season. The Penn State Nittany Lions finished 2nd in the nation in the top 25. Bo Pelini fired from Nebraska, and we do get that offer. So last year it was Georgia. It looks like this year Nebraska is, our contract or our coaching gig that we're going for. Excuse me. We're just going to view extension from Marquette, and we'll just sign a 4-year extension. Why not? And we'll continue our journey in Milwaukee. Now, Kevin Sumlin, they were Texas A&M, got to get through Nebraska first. And I do expect our coordinators, we have Matt Campbell, a former head coach. He's a higher level than our offensive coordinator, but Matt Campbell, the former head coach of Toledo, as the head coach is going to be James Coley from Florida Atlantic. He goes to Nebraska. But we have Matt Campbell. I would expect him to get a head coaching gig somewhere as Wisconsin D coordinator Dave Aranda goes to Arizona State. Now UW, Steve Sarkisian was fired after a 2-10 season from the Huskies. Tim Beckman gets the job there after an 8-5 year with South Alabama. Arkansas State Brian Harsin was fired. They go with Steve Farmer from UL Monroe. And like I was saying, I thought maybe Matt Campbell and Bobby Goss he's been our offensive coordinator this whole time through this dynasty. Neither have been garnering any interest at this point. Kind of surprised. Jared Anderson goes to UL Monroe. Cincinnati, looks like they fired Tommy Tuberville. They go with Lane Kiffin. So Kiffin kind of working his way back through the ranks. Western Michigan 7-7 last year, made the MAC championship. And there we see Matt Campbell, the top candidate for this FAU gig. We'll see who the Owls go with. Calling Campbell right now. Calling other candidates. Go back to Josh Heupel. Calling some other guys. Now Brian Wright, are they going to stay in-house? And they do. They just promote their offensive coordinator. I like to see those kind of moves as he's staying there. I think Boca Raton, right? Is that where FAU is? Could be wrong on that. Now Ohio, Jared Anderson took a better job, although I don't know if UL Monroe is that much better than Ohio. Might as well just stay where you're successful. They go with Brian Cook, although they did consider Matt Campbell. So the Georgia Tech OC bringing the option there to Ohio. SMU, June Jones retires from coaching. I think in present day, I think he was coaching in the UFL or one of those spring leagues at one point. Not sure if he still is. So Matt Campbell getting the call right now from SMU. And Matt Campbell, after 2 seasons in Milwaukee, going to head there to SMU and be the head coach of the Mustangs. Indiana, they hire Kevin Sumlin, so he takes a downgrade, but still in a Power 5 as he'll look to resurrect the Hoosiers football program. Going to just go through quickly here and see if Bobby Goss gets any consideration. Bo Pelini there to South Alabama. Colorado State, not considering any of our guys, nor is Tulsa. And then we are getting here to some of our coordinator spots, but we are going to have to, and Steve Sarkisian going to Georgia Tech as the OC. We are going to have to see who replaces Matt Campbell as our defensive coordinator. I was kind of hoping Bobby Goss would get a head coaching gig somewhere, but looks like he's going to return for year 7. They don't want to split up Lance Leipold and Bobby Goss. Tommy Tuberville hired there at Western Kentucky. Only a 1-win season there for the Hilltoppers. The OC here of Wisconsin, they have to fill both coordinator spots. They go with Les Koenig, the OC from Mississippi State. And now D coordinator for Wisconsin. We're going to play them, the reigning national champs. And they go with Jeff Mills from Stanford. Now the Marquette DC, it looks like Dave Doran, Bob Shoop, and Don Brown, the top candidates. And we go with Bob Shoop, who has a 4-3 playbook style. And I think we are planning on running a little more of that. I was kind of hoping Don Brown, I love what he did at Michigan, although that is future here than where we are in this dynasty. But Bob Shoop, the new D coordinator, the former head coach at Tulsa, fired after a 2-10 season. And we just went ahead and advanced through that stage. So we'll look at coach changes here on the larger scale as we see Lance Leipold signs an extension. Bob Shoop comes over after being fired as the Tulsa head coach. Bobby Goss, nothing there with him. But also we do have players leaving, and I am a little worried about transfers. We had one last year, Derek Perkins, who was going to be a starting corner this season. He almost transferred out. Luckily he didn't. He would have went to a 1-win Western Kentucky team. But we'll just jump into it. Hopefully everyone stays in-house. And we do. It's perfect. All just graduations, no declarations. And I thought Justin Hill might be our first NFL draft pick or Greg Walker here. But it looks like both are just going to be priority undrafted free agents. We'll see. We'll go down the line, see who we're losing. Just recap that real quick. Greg Walker, Alexander, all-time leading rusher. Josh Terry, maybe our head coach in our College Football 25 dynasty. Kevin Coleman, Mike George, who only finished with 3 career catches. Justin Hill, Antonio Carr, Bobby Price, Robert Williamson, Aaron Clark, and Mark Henry. Thank you to everyone here for your service, mostly players from our Year 2 recruiting class. And now we're here at draft results. I don't think we got any. So actually, Greg Walker does sneak in there as a 7th round pick. I don't think I've ever seen that where, players leaving, it just says graduation. It doesn't say NFL draft pick. Unless it only says that for underclassmen, but I don't think it does. So Greg Walker, a 7th round pick. And I wonder what team selected him. Gonna have to import him to Madden and find out. I've been saying I'm gonna do that forever and still haven't pulled the trigger. Now, transfer requests, I don't expect any here, and we do not. We strike out there, but Greg Walker, the first NFL draft pick in Marquette history. And we're now here out in recruiting, and maybe Walker, had it not been for that knee injury, I think a back injury as well, maybe would have been a little bit higher, but we see Matt Harrington has locked us out. We kind of expected that, not really in on him in midseason addition, but Jake Allen, Terry O'Donnell, and Adrian Holmes were battling with one school for each, and those are going to be our primary targets here in this all-season recruiting. Had to go to letter of intent and boost our all-season recruiting. So this year, for the first time, we'll have a little boost here, an extra 1,500 points to work with. Now at 11,500. So we have O'Donnell, Allen here, trailing for both of them. Holmes, we lead by Miami of Ohio by 1,225, and we actually got locked out on him, unlocked him, and then he had his visit, so that really worked out in our favor. I think I learned that move from Obscure Victories Gaming, intentionally getting locked out, and it kind of works out. Never thought of that in the past. So initially, we're definitely, he's our top target, I think. Maybe Jake Allen over him, but Holmes right out of the rip, going to go up to maybe like 3,000. And I don't know if we're going to pour in points on any guys beside these top three. Daryl Harvey, I mean, we don't desperately need a DN, so maybe we're hoping he kind of just commits on his own. We do need a quarterback, so hoping like Herb Coe or Derek Cooper here. I'm hoping one of them commit on their own. Maybe Cooper. Looks like Pitt, Navy, Air Force, none of those schools really in the mix. And these guys down here not really targeting any of them. And we will review our class here after this, this stage. So Jake Allen, I think we want him the most, looking at his skill set. B speed with C agility, 77 strength, finesse move at 69, block shed not the best, but he has B power move, and his coverage ratings all at C. With that size and strength, could probably play a little D end as well. So I like the versatility for the 4th ranked outside linebacker in the nation out of Shelby, Michigan, 6'2", 257. Initially, I think we'll just go to like 4,200 for him, 4,250. And Terry O'Donnell dropped a little bit after initial scouting. Does have that 83 hit power with 83 tackle, so a very good box safety potentially with a good press. 88 acceleration, only C agility though with B speed. 6'2", 214. And he's been favoring NIU really all year. And still already now we only have 4,250 to work with. I don't really want to pour any in on Harvey, Coe, or Cooper. I'm really hoping one of the quarterbacks just commit on their own, and then Harvey does the same. But if we miss out on Harvey, it's not the biggest deal, especially if we get Allen to kind of counteract for that front 7 personnel signing. So O'Donnell, we would like to bolster. Whoa, what just happened there? We would like to bolster our secondary a little bit. That's probably the top priority I usually go for, aside from offensive line. So we're going to have to pour a lot into O'Donnell. I'm not sure if it's going to end up being worth it. What we distribute to him, I think we might be better off just mixing into Holmes. Definitely want to put him to at least like 38 just to play it safe. 3860. I don't know why we're doing that, but going with that number. Allen, I think we'll go to 4,600 even. And that leaves us with another 1,500. So that would bring O'Donnell to just over 3,000, which might be enough to do it, but I'm not sure if it would. I don't know if we should pull down Allen a little bit, put more into O'Donnell. But like I said, I think Allen is our priority, and I am really worried about Kansas State. They've been leading the way for him like all year. At first, it seemed like it was going to be easy to bring him in, but Kansas State jumped on him in like week 5 and led the way ever since. Kind of same with O'Donnell, although NIU kind of out of the gate was always favoring him. And then Holmes, I think with the cushion we have against Miami, I think 3860 might do the trick. And then we're hoping Harvey, Coe, or Cooper commit. We have Jason Smith at quarterback for the next 3 years, so not imminent to fill that spot, but still we need one more quarterback. I think just Smith and Martin Diggs, our redshirt junior now, are only 2 quarterbacks on the roster, and I think Cooper would be solid as a QB3, someone we could maybe redshirt. So I think we'll just roll with this. I've kind of always been quick to just throw these points out there and see what sticks, but O'Donnell is really the only one I'm worried about. I think Allen and Holmes should commit fairly easily, but it's never a done deal. Who knows in these off-season recruitings? We only have 9 signings to this point, and as we advance here to signing day, and we didn't really need to replace a lot of players. As we saw, we only lost like 12 players to graduation, something like that. So I had like 15 spots that I wanted to fill, and we only needed a quarterback, a lineman, and I think a D end to hit our quota of what we were targeting in this off-season recruiting cycle. Or not just off-season recruiting cycle, but this overall recruiting cycle of year 6. We see a bunch of players there signing, and I'm going to just, we wait in anticipation to see if we go 3 for 3 on our prospects that we were distributing points to. And here we go. So Jake Allen signs, we get him, but we miss out on O'Donnell and we miss out on Holmes. That is crazy. I knew with O'Donnell we should have just let him go and put more into Holmes. I can't believe we missed out. We do get Harvey. I don't even think we offered scholarships to these two guys, Collins and Myers, so I don't know if they're going to even end up on the roster. So really, Daryl Harvey and Jake Allen are only guys that we were targeting. So Herb Coe signs with Central Michigan, and Derek Cooper, that other quarterback, did not even end up signing. So weird development there. So Jake Allen is a big get, though, for this program. I think he'll be a trademark player on defense at one point, but missing out on Holmes is a really big buzzkill. He's going to be a tremendous lineman there for Miami of Ohio. So top classes, we rank at 33, which is solid, especially the quantity of our class. And it actually signed a quarterback there for us, Charles Harris, a 4-star, who I did have on our board at one point, but took him off as I thought Coe or Cooper were more likely to sign. But I did like Harris, so typically I don't keep computer-signed players on our team, but in this case, I might make the exception. Let's see other players they signed first. So we do end up with 4 stars with Harris included, Josh Madsen, Jake Allen, who we just brought in, and Tim Smith, the top receiver out of Wisconsin, Kenny Weeks, a middle linebacker out of Canada, Nash, a free safety who's a midseason addition, Stephen Curry at tight end, and Kay Wagner, a player we did not sign, so probably going to cut him. We do get Morris at tackle, Brian Beck a corner, Dale Harvey, we didn't pour any points into there, but he still commits. Andrews and Stokes, a 3-star athlete, probably a safety or a corner. And then all these 2-star guys we did not sign, but we'll check them out and see what we're working with. So let's go. Actually, we'll check out the top classes. We'll go up the board a little bit. Penn State there at 31, USC at 26, Miami just barely cracking the top 25. Navy at 19 after a very good season from them. Ohio State in the top 15, 2 5-star signings. Washington, despite a 2-win season, they pull in a top 10 recruiting class, and they sign a maximum class of 25 players. Texas, only 16 players in this class. At Wisconsin, after a natty, they got 5 5-star recruits. That is crazy. And that's John Coleman. He was our top target in this class, and we missed out on him just barely to Wisconsin, committed there in week 14. Almost trickled into the offseason. That's crazy. 5 5-stars for Wisconsin. Tennessee gets 1, Oklahoma, Michigan, and Alabama, the top class this year. Now we'll go down our recruiting board a little bit. And Derek Cooper, it looked like our bar was green enough. We had last year D tackle Jeff Thomas. His bar was not even like halfway. Didn't even expect him to sign, and he did. So I thought Cooper might have been a done deal, but he was not. So Terry O'Donnell ends up going to NIU, the 4th-ranked free safety. Herb Coe goes to Central Michigan. And then Brett Day, we weren't really pouring anything into him, nor were we with Drew Miller. Matt Harrington, I really just kept him on the board to see where he would end up. A 4-star, top 10 safety going to Hawaii, joining the good times down there. And Adrian Holmes, they must have poured all their points into him. We missed out by over 6,000, so they probably went all in. So no matter what we poured into him, I don't think we would have pulled away with Adrian Holmes. That's a crazy development there. So 15 signings in this class, although Cole Myers, I don't think we offered a scholarship, or William Collins, but we'll see what we're working with when they get brought up to the roster. So Thomas Andrews, the first signing of this class out of Red Oak, Iowa. Stephen Curry, 6'6", 229 receiving tight end. Brian Beck, a 65 overall corner. the 31st in the class. Josh Madsen, the top running back out of Wisconsin, the 11th ranked in the nation. We beat out Wisconsin for him and Tim Smith, the best player in the state at their respective spots. Greg Morris, a 3-star tackle, 65 overall. Brent Stokes, 68 overall athlete. Like I said, probably a corner or safety with some return ability. Kenny Weeks probably can play all over the linebacking core. Then Robert Nash, a safety. And then these 4 players on signing day, headlined by Jake Allen, a 4-star out of Shelby, Michigan. And then Daryl Harvey, a 3-star D-end out of Michigan as well. We're now here at position changes. And if you missed that, I failed to mention it, but I just noticed, going back and editing, that Terry O'Donnell, we missed out on him by just over 150 points or so. Just such a narrow margin, and we missed out on one of our targets there. So Charles Harris, a 74 overall quarterback, who the game signed for us, 80 speed, 75 agility, 73 acceleration, a good athlete at 6'4", 219, with a decently strong arm at 84, accuracy only at 75. A 4-star, I typically do not redshirt 4-stars, but the fact that the game signed him for us, I don't know. We're probably gonna keep him, and then redshirt him and have Diggs as the backup. We'll hold off on that for now, but probably our approach, like I mentioned, we don't typically keep players that the game signed for us, but we did need a quarterback. We missed out on Cooper and Co., so maybe Harris is the guy that we get. And we have Lawrence Jackson down here. We ended up transferring him to a different team, so we just put his overall all the way down just to ensure he'll never see the field. At running back, we'll have McBride leading the way, and Josh Madsen here. Going to be a 70 overall true freshman, 89 speed with 80 agility, 86 acceleration. Good spin move there at 83. Has a good juke at 75, elusiveness, high 70s as well. Decent release and good route running, so maybe can contribute as a receiver a little bit. Fullback will have Albert Brown kind of taking over that Josh Terry role. Good athleticism at 6', 236, 91 speed, 88 carrying. But his impact block at only 40. That needs to get better. Has good run block, good pass block otherwise. Freshman receiver here. Tim Smith going to end up as 68 overall. Good speed at 93 with 86 acceleration, but the agility way down there at just 73. And the catching at 62, release at 63. Definitely has some holes in his game right now, but you'll have that 77 route running. Good route running speed combo to build off of. Wagner here we're going to end up cutting. We did not sign him. At tight end, Stephen Curry is 64 overall. At 6'6", 229, 80 speed, 91 acceleration. Very good at tight end with very good catching traits, but the blocking not going to really hold up maybe until his senior year or so. So position changes always really starts on the offensive line. Cole is going to start again at left guard. Cook will start again at left tackle. At center, it's going to be Bobby Marcus. At right guard, Richard Walker. So right tackle is really the only hole we need to fill. And I think it comes down to Todd Kemp and Rick Kent. We'll just move them side by side to get a better comparison here. So they're both juniors, although Kent, a redshirt junior, an athlete we signed back in the day. Kent a little faster, a little stronger, better awareness. Really better in every category so far. But what about blocking? So a better pass blocker at 84. Really, just do you want the pass blocker or the run blocker? Like I said, Kent probably a little bit better overall. And we do typically want, a pass blocker at the right side. We usually roll out to the right. So I think Kent is going to be the starter at right tackle. But Kemp, he's going to be our swing tackle. Going to be our backup at left tackle and right tackle. Travis Thomas will have to work in. Walker at 74 overall. Marcus 89. Cole at 75. And we'll just throw Morris at right tackle, although he's probably going to be a redshirt. So returning 4 stars on the offensive line. Hopefully Kent holds up there at right tackle. He should progress nicely over training results. Now D-end, who do we got? Jed Brigham definitely going to be the starter at right end. Or maybe we put him at left end. I typically like someone a little faster. I think we'll put Ryan at right end, Taylor Ryan at right end with Edwards. And put Brigham on the left side, take over an Antonio Carr spot. but we will try to mix all these guys in. Harvey probably going to be a redshirt, so we might just have a 4D end rotation, but we have maybe a linebacker we want to move there as well. And the game did sign William Collins for us, a 65 overall 2-star, 61 speed, 70 strength. Not really good for an interior guy, but has good block shed. I think we might just end up cutting him. We already have 2 sophomores, 2 juniors. Maybe only going to need to sign 1 or 2 this upcoming offseason. So now getting to linebackers where it gets a little more interesting. Let's see what Jake Allen ended up being. He went down to a 68, so he's actually a bust. He goes down from a 73 to a 68. His speed was supposed to be a B. It drops down to 74. Does have good strength, though, good acceleration for a defensive guy, good tackle, decent play rec, and pursuit with 75 power move, 64 finesse, 64 block shed, and decent coverage trait. So I do really like him as maybe a D end, maybe a 3-4 outside linebacker. And he actually does go up 1 point when you put him at D end. We're going to have Brigham, and Edwards is going to progress a little nicely. I don't know if we should put Allen at end or not. Kind of bummed out that he regressed a little bit. Valentine going to get cut. We did not sign him. We didn't sign Harvey either. He actually goes up 1 to the D-line. Let's figure out our starters first. So Leak is definitely going to be the guy at left outside linebacker, Carter in the middle, and Weber at right outside linebacker. So probably want to move one of these guys to the outside. Probably Thomas Andrews with that good speed. I think Suggs as well we wanted to move outside. We're probably going to cut these guys, but we'll just move them to the middle for now. That being Harvey and whoever else we just moved over. So that gives us 1, 2, 3, not counting Harvey or Valentine. We'll also have Weeks, who we're going to redshirt. I mean, Harvey's a JUCO. We did have him on our board at one point. So I don't know if we want to do anything with him or not. A balanced linebacker. We'll see how it goes, but I'm still really torn up here on Jake Allen. 74 speed. Really don't like that at linebacker. And he probably is best off rushing the passer, but does have good coverage. But like I said, probably best bet as a 3-4 outside linebacker. And our DN's, like I said, pretty thin. I mean, we only have 5. And I did plan on moving 1 to end as well. So I think we'll put Allen at right end. And I think he might be a starter. I know Edwards might jump him after training, but I think Allen is really a better skill set. So we kind of squander his coverage traits, but we'll have a better D-end rotation now because of that. And we do have some good linebackers waiting in the wings, so moving Allen to the D-line, not the biggest problem for this defense. James Johnson never really developed into much. A decent special teamer, I guess. So that'll do it for linebackers. Now corners, Carroll and Perkins going to be the starters. We'll have James Williams. Let's see what Andrew Thomas would be. We actually got him in as a corner and then moved him to safety to provide a little more depth. Robert Nash ended up being a bust as well. Only a 63 overall at safety. 84 speed, 84 hit power, 80 press, 72 zone, but only 49 man coverage, 69 agility. Pretty bad. We'll move him to strong safety. Thomas would be a 67 overall corner, which would be right under Williams before Beck. Omar Wilson's still going to be a 2-year starter at safety, so I think we might just move Thomas over to corner. We're going to redshirt Beck. Myers, I don't know if we're going to keep or not. We didn't sign him. The game signed him for us. Otherwise, strong safety looks pretty good. Jason Taylor going to emerge in a starting role now. We still have Dominic Green here. 6'3", 208, only 78 speed, but he has really good coverage ratings. Really good pursuit, good press, good hit power, but just a poor athlete, poor agility. So maybe we don't move Thomas to corner. I think we keep him as some safety depth. But that leaves Brian Beck as probably our cornerback 4, but Doherty will probably pass him after training. I think we'll actually put Thomas to corner, and we could always just put him at safety on the depth chart if we need to. So that'll give us Nash as a red shirt, kicker Hunter Kraft, Castillo our punter, a senior. And I forgot about Stokes, so we actually could put Stokes at corner or safety. Take a look at his skills: 91 speed, 81 agility, 83 acceleration with low tackle, but does have decent hit power, 82 zone with 78 man, very good coverage guy, 69 press, 74 play rec. And he's a very good athlete with the 85 juke move, 84 spin. So like I mentioned earlier, probably someone who can contribute as a return man. He's a 70 overall running back, a 67 overall receiver, but we want him in the secondary. He'd be a 68 corner or a 70 overall free safety. So it really comes down to do we want Thomas at corner, or do we want the athlete Stokes at corner? I think Stokes actually could be a dynamic free safety. So I think he'll be the guy after Omar Wilson in a couple years. So Stokes might even get some playing time as a freshman, depending on how some of these guys develop. But really kind of mundane here, kind of bland for position changes this year. We didn't really have many athletes. Our offensive line kind of stood the same from what it was last year. Really just had to move one guy over. Just want to make sure I'm not missing out on anything. We went over some of our freshman ratings that we didn't get to see before. Although I don't think we talked about Morris here at right tackle. Our offensive line, so we returned 4 starters, as I said. Now Morris, 65 overall with 76 pass block, 76 impact, 82 strength. A very good skill set to build off of. And this will probably be our starter at right tackle during his junior season, or redshirt sophomore season, we should say. We moved Jake Allen to D end. Ends up being a bust. So our prized recruit that we got in the offseason ends up being a bust. We moved some linebackers around, but really nothing of note. Nothing too major. We'll have Thomas back as a corner, along there with James Williams. Those guys kind of competing for our nickel spot there in our secondary. Wilson will start at free safety, and Jason Taylor will be a first-year starter at strong safety, the senior. We are now here at training results, and look at that. Bobby Marcus goes up +7 to a 96. The highest player that we've ever had. Certainly going to be a draft pick, maybe even a day 2 guy, as one of the top interior linemen in the nation. I can't forget he transferred from Michigan State back in year 3, I believe it was. Now we'll just go position by position. Jason Smith goes up +6, so just a redshirt sophomore. Now an 89 overall with 91 speed, 81 agility, 92 acceleration, 89 awareness. Let's go to his throwing traits. His accuracy +4. Throw power +1 to an 82. Martin Diggs, our backup quarterback this year, up to a 77 overall. The backfield, everyone goes up +6 except Mario McBride, who did miss like half of last season. Still a 90 overall, in store for maybe the best season we've ever had from a Marquette running back. Craig Jones, Sam Manning, and Michael James. 3 true seniors we have, or actually Jones is a redshirt senior, so we're going to lose 3 running backs, but we will have 3 remaining. We're going to lose 4 running backs. We'll lose our top 4 guys, and we'll have Jared Luke and Josh Madsen waiting in the wings. So we're going to have to bring in at least 2 running backs in this next cycle. Albert Brown and Matt Robinson are 2-headed fullback attack. One more of an athlete, Swiss Army knife guy, while Robinson a blocker, very good impact block. Kenneth Polk is up +4. We have a 90 overall receiver this year. Dylan Anderson, Tommy Washington, 2 guys with good size. Anderson at 6'4", 228. Tommy Washington, 6'5", 228. Quincy Bonner maybe going to get some reps in the slot this year. Came on pretty strong in the bowl game. CJ Saria and Kyle Romero, a redshirt freshman, going to fill out the receiving core. At tight end, Jack Mason up +5. And Craig Watkins, 2 seniors here. So we're only going to have Curry and this JUCO project, Waylon Douglas, at tight end after this season. That's going to probably be our biggest need. Roger Cook up to an 81 overall. Marquise Cole goes up +6 for his redshirt senior season. 19 pancakes, just 2 sacks allowed last year. Bobby Marcus, we saw him, probably the biggest riser, up to a 96. Richard Walker, redshirt junior, up to a 79. And Rick Kent up to a 79 at right tackle. He goes up +5. And Todd Kemp goes up +4. So Kent did have a better spring, and it looks like he earned the job. Jed Brigham up to a 79. Anthony Edwards up to a 73 with Taylor Ryan there at 70. So I think Jake Allen was equal, or he was a 69, but he'll get some reps at D end, of course. The true freshman, 4-star. Jake Witherspoon up to an 84, and Troy Walker, John Daniels, Jay Hill, Jeff Thomas still all get some reps as our defensive tackle 2 this year. Jonathan Leak up to a 79. Chris Carter up to an 83. Probably going to be the leader of this defense. At the corners, Mike Carroll going to be our top guy at 82 overall, but I think Perkins probably is a better player, although he isn't rated as high. Still just a true junior. And James Williams looks much better on paper than Andrew Thomas, who only goes up +3 after we transition him back to corner. And Doug Doherty goes up +5, but still not breaking 70. Going to probably be our 5th corner on the depth chart. Omar Wilson up +4 to a 78. John Stovall behind him, a redshirt sophomore. Jason Taylor and Dominic Green each at 84. Green up to a 79 speed now. Daryl Simmons, a redshirt freshman at 70. Hunter Kraft up to an 89. Castillo goes up +7 to an 88. So that's training results this year. It looks like Marcus Castillo were our biggest risers at 7. We had a few at +6, but otherwise pretty standard developments here. We are now at cut players, and we're actually going to go ahead and just cut Lawrence Jackson from the team, as he's now on Eastern Michigan. We don't have to cut any running backs the game. Really, at this point, we just cut players that the game signed for us. Kevin Wagner, no thank you. We're good here at tight end. I think we're good on the O-line as well. We'd have to cut one D tackle, though. I didn't expect our roster to be so tight right now. I mean, Collins is solid at 65 overall, but we didn't sign him. We're going to go D tackle heavy in this upcoming recruiting class. And I made a couple linebackers here. Valentine definitely getting the boot. And I think Harvey will as well. Didn't look like a bad player, but like I said, we didn't sign him, so we're going to set him free. Same here with Cole Myers. Open up an extra spot on the roster for hopefully a transfer, but I don't expect any more transfers at this point in the Dynasty. So at this point, I kind of divvy up how many seniors we're going to lose. Plus, we have 2 open spots on the roster, so that's kind of what I allot myself to recruit. So up here, we have 3 seniors, gives us 5 total roster spots to work with. 3 more here, 4 more, so make it 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18 seniors now. So we'll just call it 18 to 20 roster spots for next year. And now I kind of go down the roster and see what we're going to need. So only 3 quarterbacks on the roster right now. We're going to lose Diggs after this season. So maybe a quarterback, but not necessarily a need. At running back, we're going to lose 4 guys. So we need 2, maybe even 3 running backs in this class. But we do have 2 freshmen. We have a sophomore and a freshman. So 2 underclassmen. So I think 2 would suffice. We're good at fullback. We're going to lose 2 wide receivers in Pope and Washington. We'll have 2 seniors the following year, so maybe we want to go for 2, 3 receivers in this class. Tight end, definitely going to need a couple there. Hopefully we could bring in one of the top guys as well. Need a bolster to that unit. We'll lose 1 guard, 1 center, and nothing else. So we'll say probably 2 or 3 offensive linemen at D end. We're not going to lose anybody. Maybe just bring in 1 for some insurance. At D tackle, we'll lose Witherspoon. And then 2 the next year. So we'll look at 2 D tackles this next recruiting cycle. 2 juniors there. We'll lose 2 seniors. So linebacker, maybe 2 or 3. At corner, we're going to lose Carroll. Perkins will be a senior the following year. So 2 corners probably. And we really need to bolster our secondary in a big way, I think. Probably good at free safety. Maybe just like 1 safety overall. Also going to need a punter. So counting down the positions I just wrote down. 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 3 receiver. So that's 6, 2 tight end, 8, plus 3 linemen, 11, 12, 13, 14 for 2 D tackles, 17 for 3 linebackers, 19. So I divvied up like 21 spots, which is a little more than what I projected with the 18 to 20 for our roster size, but just want to make sure we're good on roster cuts. Just go down to the bottom, make sure no one got through my grasp. So, I mean, Douglas we always could cut, worst case scenario, but we'll stick with that project and see if the JUCO transfer can continue to progress. Maybe, finds the field as a redshirt senior. And with that, folks, we are now officially into 2019, the preseason here of year 7. And this is where I'm going to leave you, folks. Thank you so much for watching. We kind of, took an all business approach in this preseason, in this offseason episode. Didn't really beat around the bush too much, but thank you so much for watching. I'm not really sure when we're going to pick up this Marquette Dynasty again. Like I said last episode, we're going to go over to College Football 25 now and start a dynasty there. But, we'll put this one on the back burner. I say all this, and we'll probably end up ripping another season here in this Marquette Dynasty before we even end up starting a College Football 25 Dynasty. But that's not going to be the case. We're going to get one going on College Football 25, and we'll definitely pick this one back up at some point. I'm not sure when that it's going to be. It really all depends on how I enjoy College Football 25, how well it's perceived. But, at some point, we'll definitely get back to this Marquette Dynasty, and I really appreciate and thank all of you who have made it such a fun ride. But this is not the end. This is not goodbye. It's merely see you later. But as always, everybody, it's been real, and be well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.